Hi, this is Lauren Lester, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Coming up on MWIRE Weekly, we have a special Oscar edition episode. Also, we'll be talking about the latest news, including the possible casting of the Star Wars Episode 7 villain. All that and more coming up on MWIRE Weekly. Hello, and welcome to MWIRE Weekly, the movie podcast dedicated to the movie week that was. I am one of your hosts, Dan Clark, and joining me, as always, is Kevin Optimus Solo. How's it going?
It's going great, man.
And joining us today also, again, they were on a previous episode, I believe, when we talked about the Hunger Games, and they're back again for our special Oscar edition, DJ and Matt. DJ, how's it going?
I'm just glad to be back. I'm glad you lowered that restraining order you had on me. I'm happy to be here.
And Matt, how's it going?
It's going well, but the restraining order is still on me, though. I think I have to talk to you guys later about that. I think you got it mixed up. I think it should have been him, not me.
DJ and Matt are both from Simplistic Reviews, and like I mentioned last podcast, if you have not, check out their blog and their website, and I'll make sure to include all that in our wonderful show notes. But as I teased, today is this little special episode as the Oscars just happened literally moments ago. So we'll be discussing that and a little bit of a shakeup of a format here. Normally we talk about what we've been watching recently, and then we move into movie news and then our main attraction. But we're going to actually flip the script and start with our movie news. And as we start with movie news, we get into the box office first and foremost. And some interesting things happen in the box office. If you look at the top films that came out this year, The Impossible happened. Liam Neeson beat Jesus.
Well, technically, he might be Jesus.
Maybe, actually, surprisingly, maybe the more surprising thing was that Liam Neeson beat the Lego movie, but Nonstop came in at number one in the box office with $30 million, followed closely by Son of God, and then the Lego movie still up there with $21 million, and rounding out the top five is The Monuments Men and the Kevin Costner wannabe Liam Neeson movie 3 Days to Kill. So
Crank with the Daughter, essentially.
So Kev, I'll just start with you. Are you surprised that Nonstop did as well as it did?
I am not surprised that Nonstop is number one. I am more surprised that Lego Movie is number three. I figured when it did drop, it would just drop to number two. I guess I never considered the fact that two films could beat it. And I'd be interested to see what kind of maybe foreshadowing that is for the possibility that Noah and Exodus could both do well in the box office. I'm not trying to compare all three films, besides that they're all based on Bible events, etc. But out of the three of them, Son of God looked like the weakest out of the three, just because instead of covering one story, it was literally trying to cover an entire lifetime of stuff, which seemed like a weird undertaking. So I'm more surprised, that did as well as it did, so that Lego Movie dropped down to three. Other than that, there was a lot of expectedness on the box office, where you see, once again, for probably one of the final times, all of the Oscar films got one more bump as people tried to view them before the Oscar reveal. So almost every film that was nominated for something had at least a minor spike at the box office again this last week.
How about DJ yourself? Are you a little bit surprised about how the box office turned out this past weekend?
Not Liam Neeson. I agree with Optimus there, but I the Son of God movie, I forget when me and Matt went to go see it, and we saw the trailer for it. I think it might have been Wolf of Wall Street, and we're like, this looks like an asylum version.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, it looks like an asylum version of Passion of the Christ. I'm like, didn't this movie come out like 6 years ago? And then I thought, well, Spider-Man has another movie right after another movie, so why not Jesus? But Lego movie. Oh, I'm sorry.
It had more of the looks of like a mini series, obviously.
I think
it's connected.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I think it was connected to the Bible one. Yeah,
yeah, the History Channel series. I just didn't. First off, I didn't think Liam Neeson. I thought Liam Neeson would beat Lego, but I didn't think it was super beat. I thought it'd be like a couple million. But man, for Jesus to even sneak in there, it shows who we are as a country. We're really trying to repent. It's whatever method of Jesus we can get to as quickly as possible.
Well, I mean, you don't want to be smited by God if you don't watch his son.
You don't watch
his son is the best actor in the history of the world.
What a catch line. It's like, watch this movie or you're going to hell.
What's better than the actual catch line, which was like, I'm coming soon, which was at the end of that movie, which was like, that
may have been the funniest thing you've ever said, Dave.
I want that poster. I want the poster with that written by right on top of it.
He's coming soon.
That was literally how they would end it. I'm like, that just seems... I don't know if they were going for the intentional joke there, but it felt like they were. But
be a little rim shot at the end there, like, "Oh Jesus, you're such a joker."
Oh, Nazareth, Jesus of Nazareth, you.
That Nazareth has a real sense of humor.
You rascallion, you.
I do have to bring up a couple things I noticed. We may have seen the biggest drop that we've talked about on a weekend so far in 2014, because one of the things I usually do is see what place they were in last week and what place they're in this week. And yeah, I know 3 Days to Kill went from 2nd to 5th, and you have Endless Love going from 9th to 12th. Not anything like major, but if you scroll down a bit, A Winter's Tale was 10th last week. It is not even, I believe, in the top 30 this week. So it dropped over 20 spots, an 88.7% drop, which means it is at 12 million against a 60 million budget.
Oh man! And the cameo of that film got to be the main dude at the Oscars today.
Yeah, so there was definitely, like we've talked about every week, some definite fails so far this year. Jack Ryan is probably in its last week, and it dropped over 10 spots as well. So quite a bit of some films falling off the radar, so to speak. And then on the other side, Lego Movie did eclipse the 200 million mark. So as Dan and I predicted our top 10 box office for 2014, it looks like Lego Movie has a legit shot at cracking that top 10.
Before, Matt, did anything you wanted to touch on with the box office before we move on to the headlines?
No, I mean, echoing DJ and Kevin's comments, I mean, there's nothing really else. I mean, I am a little surprised that Nonstop did get the bump it did. I guess there's still Liam Neeson is still a draw, surprisingly enough.
He has a particular set of skills, Matt. He has a particular
he does have a very particular.
Well, nobody's seen him in the air like that yet.
They haven't. Like, what's the guy taking to do an airplane?
Isn't Lupita Nyong'o in that movie?
I think she is.
So
I didn't.
He loved her in 12 Years a Slave.
They're just going to have to keep finding. They realized with Taken and then Taken 2 and Taken whatever other ones they made that they had to change up the environment. So we're soon going to see him underwater and then eventually in space.
Oh, please come in space! Please put Liam Neeson in space.
Taken by sea, taken by space,
taken on space.
Taken.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you let my moon go down, that'll be the end of it.
Next time. It's got to be Aliens next time.
Oh God!
And last thing for the box office, just keeping you up to date, and we'll move on. But so far, your top 5 for 2014: the Lego Movie still reigns supreme at number 1, Ride Along number 2, Monuments Men number 3, The Nut Job 4, and RoboCop still clinging to the 5th spot.
Dead or alive, I'm not watching that movie.
So The Nut Job has made more money than RoboCop.
Yes.
That's fitting. That's fitting.
All right, Kev, you want to take us down the headlines for this week?
Sure. Let's go. We're going to do a brief headlines so we have some more time to talk about the Oscars, but we do have about 4 or 5 stories we want to touch on real quick. First of all, a headline coming from Sony. And we always try to work in some comic book and some Star Wars into our headlines, and it's chock full of it today. So first one is Sony wants to release a Spider-Man movie every year. Yeah, so that is the headline coming out, that they literally want it to be almost like a Bond type thing, or like something like, well, Bond doesn't even do it every year, but that's what we're trying to compare it to. But a Spider-Man film every year, building on, with a Sinister Six and Venom and Spider-Man, and are they absolutely crazy, guys?
Oh, jeez.
It'd be nice if Sony wanted to make a good movie every year.
Yeah. They don't care. They have the property. All they got to do is make the movie. So when it comes to the quality of it, shrug. Mark Webb. As when Reach for comment, DJ Valentine shrugged and went, Mark Webb, and walked away.
They're just trying to cling to whatever Marvel stuff they can still cling to.
Mm-hmm.
No, well, it will continue to make money as well because it is Spider-Man and kids love Spider-Man, and it's just kind of the way it is. Bully for Sony. They got the property that.
It could be Spider-Man versus Puff the Magic Dragon. Kids will go watch. They don't care what the plot is, who's starring in it. Just show me the web and him swinging with a red and blue outfit, and they're going to get $200 million automatically. So quality gone.
Yeah.
Especially once a year. Can you imagine the scripts for those films?
Ooh, scripts. They write scripts?
Scripts.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't feel it's written by actual people.
Index cards.
Ghostwriters for all those romance novelists that write 300 books a year. JD Robb. Anyway. All right. Moving on to a different headline. We've talked about this a while back. Towards the end of last year, actually, when we discussed a little bit on the Steve Jobs movie that came out last year, that there was obviously the other one that would be coming out eventually, and it looks like Sorkin has got David Fincher in line possibly to direct the other Steve Jobs films. We were already kind of speculating that the Aaron Sorkin version would be the better of the two, but does David Fincher possibly being involved with that clinch that up, Dan?
Fincher and Sorkin together, yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing that you automatically go to is The Social Network and be like, well, just do what you did there. So, yeah, and the fact that, what's his name? The dude from that 70s show, can't even think of his name.
Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kunis. Soon to be Ashton Kunis.
I'm guessing they won't get him to play. Though he honestly did better than I expected, but that movie overall was not that great. But yeah, that to me has me more interested, especially with Sorkin behind it and Fincher. So,
how about you guys? What do you think about
any movie with Fincher and Sorkin? I have to watch. It's not. I mean, I'll watch whatever they work. Anything they do separately, I'll probably pay attention to. If they work together, that's automatically got my money.
Yeah, it's a done deal. I mean, like you were saying, Kev, and then The Social Network, you automatically go back to The Social Network. And I think they could even make the Steve Jobs movie even darker than The Social Network. Because I think Steve Jobs is a little more cutthroaty growing up, like in that Silicon Valley type of state of mind with the whole Microsoft and versus IBM and Apple thing. So I think they can make it really dark and maybe not so gritty, but with Sorkin doing the writing and Fincher shooting it, I think it could be really interesting to see. Total 180 from the Ashton Kutcher Jobs film.
All right. And two more headlines, and then we'll do two casting calls here. Another headline, I don't know, you guys might have missed it. We briefly mentioned the possibility of this film being made a while back, again, probably towards the end of last year. But for those of you that didn't know, a Masters of the Universe film is supposedly in the works. And when we talked about it last time, it had the connection of John Chu as the director. Apparently, there is a new short list of directors being put together here, and the names being thrown about by Sony for the director of the Masters of the Universe are Harold Zwart, Jeff Wadlow, Chris McKay, and Mike Cahill. Zwart had done Sony's Karate Kid reboot as well as the Mortal Instruments. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the names being thrown about there. Do any of those names excite you, or does this film even need to be made?
It doesn't need to be made, but they're going to probably do it. And they've been trying to do this for how many years now? It's
long time. Wasn't John Woo attached to it at some point back in the mid 90s or early 2000s?
But I don't think it needs to be made. But I mean, if I was going to pick anybody off of the list they gave me, which is not a great list, I'd probably pick Wadlow because he did do Kick-Ass 2 and drove that into the ground. But I think he might. He is very very enthusiastic, director. The rest of these guys, it seems like it's I mean, I saw Mortal Instruments, and I don't want to
Go back here.
Mortally wounded you.
I don't know if I actually came out of that theater. I might still be in there somewhere.
It's a type of film. Does it even matter who directs it?
No.
The people that are going to go see it are going to go see it, no matter what.
Yeah.
And you're talking about $80 million worth of people.
Yeah, and the other people are just going to stay away from it anyway. So it does, nobody's going to expect it to be something epically well done. They're going to expect it to be epic, but not epically well done. Dan, thoughts on Masters of the Universe?
I was never a big Masters of the Universe guy growing up. It just never. I don't know. I missed that fad. So I don't know. I mean, it could have.
They at least have the capability now, from a visual standpoint and a technological standpoint, to at least make it look good, I guess.
You think the original didn't look good?
Well, I love the original.
How can you top Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella fighting in the middle of... You're not
creation of characters just for the movie. Anyway.
Brittany Cox.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do love fantasy films. I wish we had more fantasy films. So in that end, I'm like, okay, maybe. But yeah, it's to me, it's just a property they're trying to make into a movie that they clearly don't have that much care about. They're just like, people like this in the 80s, so they'll go see it now, so we'll make it into a movie.
You guys
for this one.
When's the last time you guys have seen the Funimation Masters of the Universe?
I mean, I see it every week because we do a podcast where we're actually reviewing it currently.
Oh yeah, you are.
So you know that if people say, "Oh, I wanted to stick to the source material," don't stick to the source material of the He-Man Masters of the Universe Funimation.
The only thing they need to stick to is the characters that already exist in that universe. Don't create new ones. Use the ones you have. But my only intrigue on seeing that film, outside of just nostalgic reasons, I guess, would just to see what they would do with Skeletor and how they would make him look. That would be the most intriguing part.
I was like the Cartoon Network version of He-Man, where Skeletor, he was Skeletor, but he wouldn't he wasn't such a coward. Sometimes he'd be like, you know what, I'm going to fight He-Man right now.
Right.
So Funimation one, he was always running. He was always leaving. The one on Cartoon Network, Skeletor was like, nah, I'm going to whoop your ass.
All right, and the other headline coming out is about a sequel possibility. Apparently, Jeffrey Katzenberg is promising another chapter in the Shrek franchise. This, to me, reminds me of the Final Destination franchise, when you even start naming movies as your last film, like the Final Destination, and then there's immediately another one. I don't know how many times they can make it seem like they're done with this before they continue to try to milk this franchise. I don't need another Shrek. I don't know about you guys.
Mike Myers needs another house, though, so it's like...
He does. He's still
I mean, the other one only got $239 million, so the last one only.
That last one was bad. That last one was bad.
Almost like we need money.
It was the love guru of Shrek films. It was just like, okay, the jokes have run out. They're using the same jokes again. It was great the first movie. It was good the second movie. It was tired the third movie. They're going to beat. That horse has been beaten and it's dead. You don't need to go do something else original.
According to the article, the franchise overall is sitting at a total box office of $2.9 billion.
Yeah.
So they need this to break the $3 billion mark.
Oh, okay.
Well, they have a goal at least. At least they have a goal.
That sounds like 6 more movies.
It's a series.
And the only other things we have before we're going to get into our Oscar talk, just 2 quick casting rumors here. Like Dan teased in the intro, a name being thrown around as the possible villain on Star Wars Episode 7. And the name being thrown around is Adam Driver to play a Darth Vader-esque figure. He's currently on the HBO series Girls. He's appeared in Lincoln, Francis Ha, Inside Llewyn Davis, in minor roles there. And, that would be the first cast member to officially sign on outside of all the expected returns of people from the original trilogy. Any thoughts on him as an individual involved, or any thoughts on just all the different rumors that we've had about Star Wars? Are you just tired about hearing about rumors and you just want to wait and see what's real, Dan?
Yeah, I would like to see what's real too. With J.J. Abrams, I feel like he just likes playing these games, but I'm kind of glad we actually have a name now. in Adam Driver, I've never really watched Girls. I watched a little bit of the first season, but when I heard this news, of course, seeing Inside Llewyn Davis, that's my first thought was like, I guess he is getting shot in outer space. He might be able to do the Darth Vader voice without the actual mask. He could just do it himself. He has that deep voice from that song. I think he could be a good actor. Like, I don't have that much experience with him, but he does have like a look to him. He clearly has a control of his vocal cords in some interesting ways that could do some fun things. But I don't know. To me, it's like, give me actual characters. Who is he going to be? Some people mention him being like one of the solos or something like that. Possibly. I don't see him as like a lead character because he's not necessarily like that classical good-looking type of guy. So I don't know. How about you guys?
I think it all matters if they're using the extended universe, and if they were, I got really excited because I heard that they might be using Hugo Weaving in the Thrawn series. Like, that's awesome, perfect. Hugo Weaving in Star Wars, Hugo Weaving can do no wrong anywhere. And then I heard about Adam Driver, and I was like, unless he's playing Jason Solo, I don't see him as a big. I mean, I'm really trying to avoid another snot-nosed, whiny villain guy. I don't want to have another Hayden Christensen. This guy's got way more talent than Hayden Christensen, but I got my fingers crossed that they're going to do something different, or at least go back to their roots, because whatever blueprint the prequels did, just stay away from those blueprints. Do whatever they did, do the complete opposite of what those did.
Yeah, I mean, having watched Girls just for pure morbid curiosity at this point, the character he plays on Girls is, I don't see it fitting into a Star Wars type character. But I mean, this is Abrams, and Abrams does have a habit of taking people you would not think at all would belong in a film. Take Chris Pine as Captain Kirk. I wouldn't have taken him as Captain Kirk in a million years. Or Carl Urban as Bones. I wouldn't have taken any of these people in those roles. However, you look at it now, they're like the iconic look of what people think of Star Wars at this point now, almost. So I mean, he could be good. I think he might be able to go dark places. He kind of goes into dark directions sometimes on Girls with the way he acts. But I don't know. It's interesting, but it's good to actually have a name that might be associated with this film for once. So, but the shell game is firmly in place by Abrams, so we won't know probably for about another few months.
Well, as the credits roll, we won't know.
Yeah, the credits are rolling. Oh, by the way, the guy was in it.
Who was in that costume? And in one of the, I'm going to go right out there and say that I'm actually kind of excited about this casting. I'm usually not excited when I hear casting call rumors, etc. But we're talking about Jurassic World, and the person who has signed on as the quote-unquote bad guy, if you're not counting the dinosaurs, obviously. If they can be called bad guys, is Vincent D'Onofrio from Law and Order fame and a lot of other stuff. I think this is a perfect choice as kind of that. I mean, if we're basing it off of the Jurassic Park films we've got before, we're going to guess he's going to play some type of person who's trying to make a buck, or who's trying to use this to his advantage. That kind of a bad guy role, not necessarily like a killer or something like that. So anybody excited about Jurassic World, or that thinks that this adds or lessens the excitement about that? Start with you, Dan.
I mean, Vincent D'Onofrio is an interesting actor. One thing he does need is often like a strong director behind him, though, because he can kind of get off the rails rather quickly and go really big and overly big. But I don't know. Jurassic World, I'm curious about, but to me, it's like we haven't really gotten a really great Jurassic Park movie since the original. So I don't know. I don't really want another Jurassic Park movie, but if we're gonna get one, at least I like the director that they're getting behind him, and so far what they've cast is interesting, and D'Onofrio at least brings an energy to the film for sure. And maybe did they say if he's an actual on screen or if he's doing motion capture, because that would be hilarious.
Yes, with the T-Rex. Like smile.
Gomer Pyle T-Rex. Full metal dinosaur.
Full metal dinosaur. I'm watching that.
But
What about you, DJ?
I'm a big fan of D'Onofrio since Private Pile. So you're right, Dan. He can go walking on you, But I think if you rein him in, he can do some good stuff. And at first I was kind of, when I first heard about this, I was like, no, leave Jurassic Park alone. Third one was bad. But when they got Chris Pratt, I was like, okay, all right, maybe I'll see where this is going. So I'm going to be actually optimistic here. Usually I'm very pessimistic when it comes to these things, but I'm going to be optimistic about Jurassic World.
How about you, Matt?
I'm fine with D'Onofrio, whatever role. I can see him maybe filling in the kind of like Dennis Nedry role or something like that, like a sniveling little kind of scummy, try to make a buck for himself type of guy. But I think he has better acting chops than Wayne Knight, so I think he might be able to take it to like a darker role. I mean, he's no Newman, but you know, who is? Yeah. If they have that would be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
But I mean, it's almost like we were talking about Shrek. It's like, okay, does Shrek need a fourth movie? Does Jurassic Park need a fourth movie as well too? I don't know. It seems kind of cash grabby. I mean, Spielberg doesn't really have a lot to do with it this time. If anything, this time. The director intrigues me because it's the guy who did Safety Not Guaranteed, and it's kind of interesting where they're going with big blockbuster movies, taking tiny indie directors to take on these huge franchises. But when it goes with the D'Onofrio, I like it. Once again, it's another cast that it's another, hey, this guy might be in the movie. It's not like the Adam Driver one or anything, but you know, it's good to get buzz out there and have people like us talking about it, I guess.
All right, Dan, that does it for the news for this week. I'll kick it back to you.
All right, so we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we come back, we'll be talking all about the Oscars, so we'll see you in a bit.
2012 marks the 30th anniversary for Masters of the Universe. We here at the GCRN are celebrating with a brand new series of podcasts. The Powers of Grayskull series will cover every episode of every MOTU cartoon. Yes, even that crappy New Adventure stuff. Join Optimus Solo and TFC1 Mike as they tell tales of Eternia, discover the myths of Etheria, become masters in space, and finally masters of Grayskull. You can find the Pogs podcasts in iTunes and the web at www.geekcastradio.com. Good journey!
All right, and welcome back. And today was that infamous night in Hollywood where we celebrate, you know, the rich and famous about doing their awards. But the Oscars happened, of course, the 86th annual Oscars. And I was just curious, before we get into the nitty-gritty of who won and who lost, what you guys thought of the actual Oscars presentation, how Ellen did, and how all that other craziness and how that all occurred. What do you guys think of the actual show itself?
I'm going to be a little bit more PC than my compadre here.
You're not going to get that out of me.
I remember last year or Seth MacFarlane was hosting, and Matt was really down on Seth MacFarlane. It's like I could have swore, Matt, you said, I hope they get Ellen back or something to that effect.
I don't think what?
I don't know. Maybe you did. Maybe I imagined that.
Maybe I said Billy Crystal, maybe.
And I think you said anyone. And mark my word, you should have been careful what you wish for, because if you love Ellen, you loved it. If you don't really have much feelings for Ellen, you hated it. There's a lot of like awkward, meandering jokes. I wasn't a big fan of her hosting.
Before we get to Max, I think we kind of have an idea. I'm curious, Kevin, what did you think of the Ellen's hosting abilities?
Well, I think you got to take it. I don't know. I guess I don't take it as a whole necessarily. I'd probably break it down and separate it out a little bit into the introduction type stuff, because you have each person and they do their spiel at the beginning, almost like a late night talk show where they kind of have their monologue, etc., and their opening jokes, and then you have the actual show. And to me, those are two very different things, and I like different stuff out of those. Like for the opening monologue and jokes, etc., I thought she was fine. I think there's a little more liberty to be had in that segment of it. But I think once you get to the actual show, I'm not looking for the jokes to continue that much.
Thank you. That's exactly
unless something happens over the course of the show, and as a comedian, you want to live in the now and make fun of that or point that out, or if there's an awkward moment and you want to address it or do something like that, that's fine. But otherwise, do your funny stuff at the beginning, and then let's keep the stuff moving.
Quick, keep it quick.
Introduce your people and go on. I mean, yeah, a couple of times she was funny throughout the show, but there was a lot of things that the jokes were being the jokes went on way too long.
There was a scene. There was a part where she's literally walking down the aisle. Say, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on?
Like,
for 5 minutes.
Like even some of them, if they would have been a good idea, they just went too long. The whole pizza bit was too long. The whole taking, pictures, selfies, Twitter was too long. And nobody cares about that stuff. So, if you're going to make a quick joke during the show, that's fine. If you're going to react to somebody who just gave a crazy speech or something, do it. Or someone falls and you want to make a joke about it, whatever. But otherwise, keep the jokes to the beginning. That's when everybody wants them. That's when you point out, I almost wish that I know they can't do it because the Academy is the ones putting it on, but I almost wish that the opening part that the host would pay more attention to, like, snubs or point out stuff like that. I wish they would do a little bit more of that, or I like the ones that are a little more hard on people. But keep the jokes to the beginning, and then let's keep the action going throughout the rest of the show.
So, Matt, on to you. What did you think of the whole thing?
I mean, I won't be as mean as everybody thinks I'm going to be. I'm freak out or anything like that.
Don't do Jerry Maguire.
I'm not going to Jerry Maguire or anything like that. But I think we're at a point now, after the Seth MacFarlane debacle, or what everybody thought was a debacle last year. I mean, personally, I wasn't a huge fan. I'm not a huge Family Guy fan to begin with, or Seth MacFarlane fan, but I feel the Academy said, okay, we got to do a squeaky clean. We have to clean this up. We can't have boob jokes. We can't have Nazi jokes. We can't have any of these other jokes. So let's be very social media friendly, and let's do selfies, and let's do this, and let's talk to people. It's like, look, Ellen, this isn't, I'm not going to curse on the show. I promised myself I wouldn't. But look, Ellen, this isn't your effing talk show on daytime TV where you exploit small children, and now you're exploiting actors. Actors are already being exploited. You don't have to exploit them any further than they already are. But it just, like you were saying, Kevin, the jokes were going on way too long. The pizza joke, to me, it's like, okay, actors are humans too. They eat pizza. They're not throwing up their food and stuff like that. To me, it just... I'm not into that cutesy comedy. I want something edgy. I want Chris Rock back. I want
Ricky Gervais.
I want Ricky Gervais to host a show and rip on people the entire time. I want Billy Crystal. I would like the Billy Crystal opening monologue to be where he puts himself in the movies and he's starring in the movies with the other actors like he used to do back in the day. I don't need all this pseudo cutesy Ellen DeGeneres stuff. So to answer your question, no, I did not like Ellen DeGeneres tonight at all.
Yeah.
Long story short,
overdone and annoying.
That being said, she still will not go down as the worst host of all time.
No, she definitely will
David Letterman.
James Franco, I guess he still holds that pretty.
Oh, James Franco. I forgot about him. Oh man,
I would say James Franco again.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna have to kind of
a sober James Franco.
No, I was
Alien. He hosts as Alien. You telling me you're not watching an Oscar hosted by him, this alien character the whole time? Be awesome.
Look at my Oscars. I got Oscars, 7 different sizes, 7 different categories. That's what I want.
But to echo what you guys are saying, I'm there with you. Like, I think they had these ideas, and then the writers' room, and like, oh, it'd be hilarious if we ordered a pizza, and like, yeah, it'd be really funny. But then it just went on for way too long, and then they joked about it beginning with like, oh, we're gonna do it. Oh, look it, we're actually doing it. We talked about it, and we're actually ordering a pizza. And it was just, I don't know.
Then they collected money later for it. It was a joke that came back like 3 or 4 times, and it wasn't funny the first time.
Kerry Washington's hungry because she's pregnant. Let's keep talking about how pregnant Kerry Washington is. I was like, they did it like this. Like, Matt is right. I remember when was it after Janet Jackson, like with the nipple thing at the Super Bowl, and then the next year they had the most conservative halftime show ever. Yeah. I think after Seth MacFarlane, like, you're right. I think there's like, let's get Ellen back and let's just make it as Disney as possible. This is the Disney Network. Let's make it as clean cut as possible, and we'll have her changing clothes with a scarf. That's funny. And it was very get on with the awards already kind of thing.
And beyond just that.
Oh, go ahead.
Beyond just that, like the whole Ellen thing, like the whole theme of the night, which I don't even understand why they do themes. It's like, you're the Oscars, that's your theme. They're like, oh, it's like a tribute to heroes, and none of those to me really made sense in their categories. They're like, oh, this is the category of the most popular heroes, and this is the category of the cartoon heroes. It just...
That first one they did, I absolutely had no idea what was going on. They literally had Jim Carrey come out, talk about animation, and then they showed like all this clip about all these animated characters, and then we like went to commercial, and I was like, what?
Yeah,
what?
There were some weird montages throughout that kind of stumped me a little bit.
I was like, I feel like I missed the memo.
Yeah, it was great music. I didn't know what the montages were for, but I was like, all right, I get to see Incredibles for like 5 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
It was all about random inserts of montages, songs, and different things that I'm just like, yeah, there might have been a theme, but good Lord, they didn't do a good job putting that together.
No,
or conveying it. Yeah,
it didn't really make sense, and it was just so randomly awkward and pointless, and didn't really do anything at all.
Awkward humor. That's the whole night, was awkward humor. There's, oh, hey, I'm going to sit in Liza Minnelli's lap and take a selfie because it's awkward. Because I made fun of her 5 minutes.
It's like, what's a selfie?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, show me who won Best Director. I don't really care what Liza Minnelli's dress looks like. I don't.
And when you say Best Director, that really got me at the end too, because I felt there was so much of these awful jokes crushed in the beginning that they zoomed past. Like Daniel Day-Lewis came up and was like, I'm here to present Best Actress. Here they are. It's like, okay, thank you, Daniel Day-Lewis, for saying 5 words to me.
5 words. Like, the greatest American actor.
Got rid of these stupid
the greatest
jokes
actor of our generation.
Yeah.
Well, to me, that's a flaw in a lot of different productions that we have, not just the Oscars, but a lot of this stuff. Even like if you want to talk about reality shows, do it too, where they draw everything out so much and they waste so much time during the body of the show that when it gets to the final part, which is usually the most important part, it's like, we got 30 seconds, here's what happened, goodbye. And it's just like, that's you can draw that out more. Like, we'd rather see more of the end and less of the middle. Like
speeches, you're going to cut off speeches from people who worked their ass off for years, 4 years if Gravity is one of them, because you did a pizza joke too long. It's like,
right. And that's what was happening and that's what was happening at the end. Daniel Day-Lewis didn't have any time because he probably knew he had, they were coming up on the top of the hour. They were already way over. And it's like, I don't want to talk anymore. I'm tired. Going back to the host real quick, I just wanted to, as much as people, and I'm not saying Seth MacFarlane did great or anything, but as much as they rip on him, they had 40 million viewers last year, which outside of the year that Steve Martin and Alec Baldwin did it back in 2010, that's the most viewers they've had in almost a decade. Yeah. So I don't know what they're looking at, because if you look at the last 10 to 15 years and the people that have done good as far as drawing in viewers, and I'm not saying it's all drawn based on who the host is going to be. Sometimes it's which films are out, etc. But Seth MacFarlane had over 40 million. Like I said, Steve Martin and Alec Baldwin. And then before that, it was Chris Rock and Billy Crystal, the only ones that were going above the 40 million mark. Ellen only did 39 her last time, which was just under, but Jon Stewart didn't do good either of the times he was on there. So I don't get if they're not looking at the numbers or what, but it just, I don't know who is your guys' you said you like Chris Rock or Billy Crystal to be the host?
You know who I heard was somebody was saying on Twitter that it would have been a great person to host. Kevin Spacey as Frank Underwood would be the greatest host the Oscars ever had. He could talk about anything. I would like, all right, great, that's perfect. It'd be way more entertaining, I think.
I would argue, I think you don't even need a host. I mean, I know why they do it, but or if they had multiple.
Well, back in the day, they used to do lots of people. There'd be 6 or 7 people as just a group that were doing it.
Like a rotating, a troop of people that would come out. So
yeah, if you look back in the 70s, I'm just pulling up one of them. The one was Sammy Davis, Bob Hope, Frank Sinatra, and Shirley MacLaine. All 4 of them just kind of did it. One year is Warren Beatty and Jane Fonda, Richard Pryor. And so I mean, I don't know. I think it's gotten to this point where we only pick one person, but sometimes the picking just seems bizarre.
I think. They should get Jimmy Kimmel.
They got Jimmy Kimmel in their back pocket.
To me, he can give that edge. I think he also knows how to handle that group. I think a lot of times people get kind of intimidated, or they don't know how to joke around stars like that. Yeah, Ellen's kind of famous, but I think her comedy has a certain certain mode to it that either you find it funny or not. But I think Jimmy Kimmel can at least do interesting things, and he knows how to hold a room like that. I don't think Ellen does, per se. She doesn't know how to, I don't know. To me, she just, like, I felt like she didn't even want to be there. Like, I don't know, like, something about her just felt like she was, I don't know if she was trying to evoke her inner James Franco or what, but.
I think it matters what you're looking for in a host. I mean, for me, I'm looking for keep it quick and entertaining. Ellen's humor doesn't lend itself to quick. It's all long setups for jokes.
Yeah, it's almost like a sketch comedy show.
Yeah. So when you're on a show that is got a notorious reputation for running long, you don't want a comedian whose jokes are long. You want a comedian who's just throwing out jokes, joke after joke after joke. That one's not funny. Here's a funny one. Zingers, quick ones. That's why I say Gervais, because Gervais can go. He can insult like 7 people in like 5 minutes.
and I think too, what a good, as far as me personally, I like to see to have that relationship where it's almost like someone from the outside who is not roasting the people, but almost more of that feel. Like it's someone, you have this huge, high class, everybody's, dressed fancy, it's all Hollywood people. I almost want someone like, who's a little bit distant from that, who can almost just like roast the people in a way on real quick type things, but keep it moving. Because that way it's not just like a glorification of themselves. If you get like an actual like movie star, quote unquote. That's why I'm against like the James Franco, Anne Hathaway, Hugh Jackman did it the one year. I don't think that was a good choice. Stay away from that and give me someone more on the outside.
Conan, somebody who when Conan hosted it with even when Gervais, I think he does the Golden Globes. When Jon Stewart, those guys, that humor that they do where it's very fast lends itself to long award shows.
I hear Jay Leno's available. I'm just kidding.
Jesus, no. That is safe. On, that's the safest they could have got. How can we make it safer than Ellen? I've got it. Eureka.
All right, so we kind of knew how we kind of feel about the actual presentation, but that kind of presentation is just in the way of the actual who won and who lost. So starting off with some of the small stuff before we get to the big stuff, any awards you guys feel you wanted to touch upon, ones that you felt like, oh, that was a snub, or ones that you felt like were downright just ridiculous that come to mind?
One of the other. There was, to me, sitting through about the first half of the awards, maybe almost the first 2/3, I was like, are we going to have... It seemed like I don't do the Oscar pools, but it seemed like it would have been easier to do them because there was hardly anything that was going against what was being predicted or what we thought. I don't know if it's just there's not much secrecy anymore and people just know the winners, or if it's just easier to predict this year. But it was a long time before one that I was like, oh, I was wrong with who I thought was going to win. Yeah. So it was almost a year for me that was almost predictable, outside of a few things later on, which were a little bit closer to call. So yeah, I don't think there was anything that like super duper surprised me.
Okay.
Great Gatsby was the first one where it's like, wow, Great Gatsby won something. And then it won another one.
Ended up winning 2 awards. Yeah.
It was like that was like the first time I was shocked. But you're right. Everything else up to that point was like very okay. All right. Sure.
I mean, I might not have expected Gravity to win every technical award, but it didn't surprise me that they won.
Yeah. No. The only I guess smaller, I don't know if you want to call it smaller, but I don't know if I want to say surprised, because when it comes to documentaries and the Oscars, it's why I get surprised, because they're notoriously pretty horrible at choosing winners. But the fact that The Act of Killing lost to 20 Feet of Stardom, which is a movie I can't really judge because I haven't seen it, but like The Act of Killing to me is just, you can literally argue that is the best movie of the year on different levels, and it didn't win, and it's obvious because it's a sad film, and
it's a sad film. They went happy this year for a lot of these categories. The 12 Years a Slave one, but when it comes to documentaries, it's just, when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, you're telling me? And I think foreign film wasn't I can't remember the name. The Great
Beauty.
Yeah. It's more happy than the rest.
The Hunt.
Yeah, I was like, well, The Hunt's not going to win this because The Hunt is not a happy film. And documentary is the same way. It's like the Act of Killing. I think the Academy was just playing it really, really uplifting when it comes to that.
I do love to watch people that you're watching the show with, if they don't know who all the nominees are, the reaction when they got to the best makeup and hairstyling and Jackass came on.
Yeah. It's like, what the hell was this?
I'm sitting there and I'm like, there's no way a movie called Jackass
Academy Award nominated
gonna win.
Jackass.
No possible way.
It's not bad enough that they could only come up with 3 nominees for that, which to me is bizarre. Like, it's best makeup and hairstyling. You couldn't come up with 5 nominees.
Yeah, it's a little shocking with that 3. I mean, I don't know if it's just because we've gone so CG and everything like that nobody needs makeup or styling anymore or something along those lines. I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's like, oh, digital. Well, it's like, well, okay, I guess visual effects then.
I will say the one that surprised me, I guess, if you want to break down the Gravity Award showcase, film editing and visual effects doesn't surprise me. Cinematography doesn't surprise me. I'm a little, I don't know, I don't agree with the nominees for Best Original Score in the first place.
Yes.
Just because it's just weird that, for example, Inside Llewyn Davis is not in there. But for Gravity to win Best Original Score, I would be thinking, if they're already getting all those other awards, that would have been one place where you could have probably spread the love to films that, I don't know, like I didn't come out of Gravity thinking, oh my goodness, the music was great. I thought, oh my goodness, the cinematography and the visual effects were amazing. I don't even remember any of the music that was in the film, honestly. So I don't know. That would have been the one.
Though its competition was really. I mean, I picked Gravity's score to win, and I do like that score. I've been watching that movie recently a couple of times, so I got to hear that score in its entirety. Because like Zimmer and who you just mentioned before weren't even in it. Llewyn Davis wasn't even in it. It's almost like, well, Price is the best of the options we got left. Because I could have made an argument for. Obviously, you have John Williams doing one of them, so that he just automatically gets one nomination. But I thought it would have been more interesting. Like, if you would have asked me to list the people that were probably potential nominees for Best Original Score before I saw their list, I would have, Saving Mr. Banks and Inside Llewyn Davis would have been probably the 2 of the first ones that came to my mind. But yeah, I don't think, I don't know. I like the score for Saving Mr. Banks. It's more about the songs than Saving Mr. Banks than the score. Yeah. So I don't remember the score rarely in that film. I remember the songs that she sung with Bradley Whitford in them. But when it comes to the score, I don't know. Maybe because a lot of the stuff that's in Gravity, that's not the sound effects. Everything else you're hearing is the score. It's essentially making the atmosphere of that movie. That's why I went for Price, because everything else just seemed like it was good, but it wasn't like, I don't know how many people watched The Book Thief, but the score wasn't really anything that I was like, oh my God, this must win an Academy.
It wasn't out of John Williams' wheelhouse or anything like that. You kind of knew what you were probably going to get with it.
John Williams woke up one morning and he just wrote something real fast. Send it out. Here's your score. Get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm John Williams.
Regarding the score in Gravity, Kevin, I can kind of see what you're saying. Like, walking out that first time is not what you really notice, but I saw Gravity again last night, and then I rewatched it today with my wife because I wanted to see it before the Oscars. And when you rewatching that, I did really notice that score so much more. It is a really vital part of that movie, and you realize you don't even notice it because it's so intricate in how it's placed that you think it's the sound effects, you think it's just the normal, things that are there just because how it replaces the lack of sound. So I don't know if I would call it the best score. It's certainly not my favorite, but out of that list, though, I really love the score of Her too. I think that's really strong.
If there was Gravity was going to lose, I'd have probably gone for Her. Because Her is probably the best, because Gravity, the way they use the score for Gravity was more to enhance the film. It's got more than just it's pretty music. It's literally a tool. And Her seemed more as artistically. I think Her was more of an artistic score, a traditional score. Gravity score, just watching the making of that film.
Like a driving score that keeps, it's like the bass line.
Yeah.
But I do agree. There's a great deal of nominations there that could have gone. Like even anything from Hans Zimmer last year. The fact he got nothing.
12 Years a Slave, you could have had that there.
12 Years a Slave, even Man of Steel, or even Rush. For that was pretty good.
Ridiculous.
Kevin, I cut you off. You were saying something?
Oh, no, I was just, if you guys have more thoughts on the score, I was just going to touch on a couple other categories that kind of the only other ones before we get into the main, whatever you want to call it, 10 or 12 categories. not that this was a surprise at all, and this is exactly how I expected it to go, but I was happy just because I can jump on the bandwagon. I guess that I jumped on with Frozen. That I was glad that it got both Best Original Song and Best Animated Feature. I think that was well deserved.
EGOT award.
Yeah, that's amazing. To see somebody get an EGOT.
EGOT. That's the
Tracy
story
Jordan.
tonight. Tracy Jordan Award.
But along with that, and you guys can give your thoughts on the animated feature film category and the original song. But along with that, the performances throughout the night. Obviously we got the performances of all the best original songs. We also had the Bette Midler performance and the Pink performance. We talked a lot about the host, etc. But what about the actual music that they had throughout the show? Are you guys a fan of them doing the songs or doing some of these other musical numbers along the way, or do you think they shouldn't be done, or what's your guys' opinion? Sorry with DJ.
I love it when they do the scores. Pharrell and Pink, which I thought Pink was amazing. I always get her name wrong from Frozen.
Idina Menzel.
Yeah,
Don't worry, John Travolta does.
John Travolta got it wrong too.
I don't even know if he said a word.
I don't even know who. I was like, who's coming out? I don't know what's that. But yeah,
I felt like it was going to throw her off the whole time. Like
just let it go. What? But no.
The whole song backwards.
But no, I like it when they do scores. And I thought all the songs were good. Bette Midler was even great. I mean,
I had a dinner.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is like, should I be clapping? Because this is a memoriam, and I was like, I guess the way they did it was that's the first time they've done that, right? Where they have somebody sing at the end of.
That's the first time I remember.
They did it. They did it in one of the previous ones. I don't remember what it was because I remember seeing it like a year or two ago where I was like, oh, that was kind of interesting. I kind of waited till it was done, and then they did one, and I thought they did it once during. When
somebody singing during it,
somebody singing during the
right. But I would have to look at that. But I agree. I thought most of the songs were pretty good. I thought most of the people were on top of their game. I thought obviously Idina Menzel was going so hard on that song that she almost
lost. Kill somebody in the front row.
She almost lost it at the end a little bit. She needed another.
I heard
breath.
that voice crack.
She's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe. I mean, this is a Broadway star, and she's probably like, whoops. But I thought all that was good. I thought Pink did really well with that random Wizard of Oz tribute.
People forget that she can do that, man. Pink can do all of the stuff.
Yeah.
But Dan, what do you think about the performances? You like that they do do that, or
I think so. It's weird because the one year they didn't do it was when the Muppets got a nomination, and then so I don't know. But yeah, I think it's good. It adds a little bit to the show, and especially if you're watching with people who are not diehard movie fans, I think they can kind of get interested in that, especially when they're actually good year. And this year worked out pretty well because the people who were nominated were literally like rock stars or Broadway singer, so you had strong talent. The only one that didn't, I think, really work that well was the Moon Song, though I liked it in the movie. Just that performance was just a little bit kind of like
it reminded me of the Juno song.
Yeah.
The way they performed it anyway, not the song in general, but
I think for it to work, first of all, you have to have a good nomination class for Best Original Song, and number two, you obviously have to have everybody available and willing to do it, because it always sucks if you only have here's two of the nominees that are actually going to sing here. But I think it's cool too because you get to see like the movie star world or the acting world react and respond and clap or standing ovation for rock stars, Broadway stars, etc. So it's kind of a cool little crossover that I enjoy. Matt, you didn't give your thoughts yet on the actual performances.
Yeah, I like the performances. I mean, as far as the Moon Song goes, I think it was really out of place compared to the other ones, even though I do enjoy that song, and I like Karen O, and I like the lead singer from Vampire Weekend and everything, but it just seemed to go by really quick. It was like a minute and a half of, okay, that's a filler song almost. I mean, it just seemed a little awkward, but I really like Pharrell. I think his performance was a lot of fun. I liked how he got in the crowd and, he had Lupita like kind of twerking a little bit and stuff like that. I thought that was interesting, so I thought that was a lot of fun. And then you had some of the like Jamie Foxx was on the stage dancing around and, it was fun. Like, it's in the brown hat works, and the black hat. It's like, can't get enough of that hat. So,
I'd rather have a couple minutes spent with these performances than I needed jokes.
Yeah, then another pizza joke. Yeah,
right. So I don't mind the performances. It breaks it up a little bit. What about you? You kind of mentioned. I know we're kind of going off key here, but I want to give your guys' thoughts on the memoriam piece in general, because that's honestly I don't know what about it what it is about it for me, but I always look forward to that piece.
They forgot Dennis Farina. That's what pissed me off.
Yeah, I mean, I like to see it because I like to, obviously it's number one just to be reminded of it and just to take a second. But they've done it different over the years, and sometimes they will actually play clips from the films. Sometimes it's just the pictures, like they did this year. Usually in the past, they're allowed to react. It seemed like they started to react to
clapping or anything. It seemed like
they
silence.
clapped at the very first one, and it was like they almost put like a huge sign up in the whole place that we couldn't see that said "Shut up."
Yeah, or they kill the mic.
Respect the dead.
But I don't mind that they actually react to it because I don't know. I kind of like that, but I like it better when they actually play some clips from those people's movies, and they spend a little bit more time actually showing us. Obviously they can't do that for the the cinematographers and the makeup artists or whatever. But when they have those big time actors that have, and we lost a bunch of them this year, I almost like hearing a little clip from them.
I think they take out the clapping. I think they started taking out the clapping. That's like how they don't say the winner
it's not
is
like a popularity contest. Like,
that's why they try and make
it. Are you clapping because he's dead or because you liked him a lot?
Or one guy gets like 5 claps and this other guy
and
gets
the next
1,000.
person
like who cares about the executive?
But no, I like it when they play the clips, especially when it would have been so awesome if they had played a clip from Philip Seymour Hoffman or Harold Ramis. Right. Or even Paul Walker. I'd rather see them than the pictures because
or something like that.
I felt like there were so many of them that died recently. Like the ones that you just mentioned that I was almost felt a little wanting more. Like I don't know if I needed someone to actually like give like a little quick, not speech, but give like a, all we got was Bill Murray just trying to forcefully get in a Harold Ramis thing, which was good, and the crowd enjoyed it and whatnot. But I'd almost liked it. If you're not going to play a clip or something, just give me a little bit more. I mean, this is huge people in your industry, that the Academy has recognized over the years, whatever, that we've just recently lost, and I don't like the feeling that it just kind of got breezed over. But maybe
I thought Kate Blanchett was going to say something about Philip Seymour Hoffman, but I know she was probably so under the gun because I know in recent like award shows that they've shown up her and Amy Adams. They always brought up Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Amy Adams especially because I think she was like really close with him. And I know Kate Blanchett was close with him too. So I thought when she was giving her speech, she would say something about him. So, but she didn't. But the closest we got was Bill Murray throwing in there, which I thought was awesome. Cool.
Bill Murray being Bill Murray again.
Bill Murray being Murray.
We give the speeches for the people that are winning the awards and this, that, and the other. So sometimes I feel like why not give a speech to someone who you're not who we've lost, and it's kind of like your last chance to give them like a send off. I don't know. I just would rather get a little more acknowledgement for that, but that's just me.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what they felt they did. Oh, Bette Midler sings a song, so there's their send off type of thing.
Well, or what they could have done is when she was singing, they could have turned on some clips without the sound.
Yeah.
So.
That would have been a great idea.
Maybe that's, like I said, that's just my personal, I like that segment for some reason, but I don't know, maybe that's just a history of dealing with loss and needing to see that a little bit more for closure. But I was sidetracking us, and we can get back into some of the main awards. We talked about a lot of the technical aspects. We're getting into like the directing and the pictures and the acting awards. Dan, where do you want to go with that?
Well, I figure we can start with screenplay, but with adapted screenplay being... with 12 Years a Slave winning Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Original Screenplay going to her. Are you guys happy with those choices? Would you have gone a different direction? How do you guys feel?
Let me ask you a question. I was watching it here. I didn't get the text Matt before. Do you think Ridley has a problem with McQueen? Because with when he didn't shake his hand when he went. He didn't shake his hand. He didn't mention him, and then they both didn't say anything about each other. Which is, and the person I was with, they said he looks mad. Why does he look so angry?
Yeah, he seemed a little pissed off.
Yeah. I don't know if something happened or maybe I missed something. I don't know.
I did wonder that too, because he walked right by him and he ended up shaking someone else's hand who wasn't even in 12 Years a Slave. So I did find that kind of odd. So I don't know.
I couldn't tell if he was just so if Ridley was so, because he obviously his speech was one of the more impassioned little speeches. I didn't know if he was I didn't know if he was just caught up in the moment where he didn't really know what was going on at certain times when he was doing that. But it was slightly odd.
Yeah. But no, I had no problem with him winning. I mean, I thought before Midnight was probably going to win, but when really won, I was like, oh, that's good. I mean, that adapted screenplay, I liked all of those scripts. So, and Spike Jonze winning, Jones winning for hers. I was very happy for that. The director of Jackass has an Academy Award.
I just like the fact that her was able to take home an award.
Should have got so many more. It's just a bad year for it. If it would have come out in any other year, I think it would have.
I think if it would have come out
this year.
I think if it would have come out any other time of the year, it might have helped too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could have been the case as well.
Matt, so how did you feel about those awards?
The screenplays, I thought they were all really strong screenplays, but I think in my opinion, they picked the right one. I think 12 Years a Slave, and it's funny. It's like back-to-back years where a film that deals with the topic of slavery wins some type of screenplay. An award last year was Tarantino with Django, and this year with 12 Years a Slave, and showing a little bit of respect to originality, like a really good originality with her, I thought was really excellent. I mean, granted, all the original screenplays are original in their own right, but her told that little extra story that a lot of people related to, and it was just well written, well acted, and thoughtful. It's a nice, thoughtful script that didn't need like a whole bunch of stuff in it to make it special. It was special the way it was written. So. But I like both. I like both awards. I think they made the right decision with both those, at least.
I agree with Matt. I think 12 Years a Slave was the one I wanted to win. Adapted screenplay was the one that did. I thought it was kind of I thought all the rest were great, but I thought they weren't. They were more of a distant second, third, fourth, fifth. Her, like I said, I wanted that to win. If it didn't go to her, I was hoping it would have gone to Nebraska as far as originality. Not saying anything against the other ones, but those are kind of the two that stood out. But I was just really happy to see her take home an award. Dan, how do you feel about those two?
Yeah, her. That was the one thing. If anything happened, I'm like, I want her to win screenplay because I think it deserves it. And I knew it had no chance of really winning anything else. Maybe score as a long shot. So yeah, I was really happy about that. And 12 Years a Slave, that's who I figured was going to win, considering the fact that you're adapting this memoir from a former slave and how you'd have to translate that. And I thought that was phenomenal. But it was a really strong year in movies, and I think the screenplays are a good reflection of it. Really, if anything won, though, I don't know. I wouldn't really be very happy if American Hustle won Best Screenplay, because I figure if anything, that's probably the weakest out of the bunch. But I also really love Nebraska, too, so if that won Screenplay, I'd be happy. But, yeah. No issues there. So, move over to some of the acting awards, Best Supporting Actor and Actress. I guess, I don't know if you call this an upset. I know there's a lot of different opinions going in, but Lupita Nyong'o ends up winning for Best Supporting Actress, beating out Jennifer Lawrence, who was winning, won the Golden Globe, won a few other awards, and then Jared Leto winning for Best Supporting Actor. I think that was highly expected. I don't think anyone thought anyone else would win. So, any thoughts on that, DJ? What were your opinions?
I thought Jennifer Lawrence was going to win. I'm a big fan of hers, and when Lupita Nyong'o won, I was like kind of happy for Jennifer Lawrence, because I had a feeling if she would have beat out Lupita, it would have. We were talking about this yesterday, Matt, where she would have got Anne Hathaway, where now she's just becoming hated by everybody. And she didn't. When you see Jennifer, she didn't seem like it hurt her. I think she was happy. It was unexpected that she got this nomination, so it wasn't as big as it was for Silver Linings last year. So I was kind of happy that Lupita won, because I love Lupita's amazing. So I mean, out of those two people, I was very happy Lupita won. I thought Jennifer Lawrence was going to win for supporting actor. It was Jared Leto, and I don't even know who else was in the category. There's no way.
I think Fassbender had a
The Greatest American Hero. It could have been the Starscream. It didn't matter who else was in the category. Jared Leto's walking away from it. There's no way. So yeah.
Matt, what were your opinions?
I was incredibly happy Lupita Nyong'o won. When I was watching the Oscars and they played that one specific clip they had for her nomination with the soap, I was watching it, I started crying. I was like, wow, that is the scene that made like her character that much. It was amazing. And then of course if she wins, and it's like, it's such a good, refreshing thing that like a performance that was that great won. So that was my highlight of the entire night, pretty much.
Great speech too. Great speech by her.
No, it was great. I mean, it was like really like a nice, refreshing moment. You know, you didn't have to have a pizza joke or something like that. You just had a nice speech.
Had a lip balm joke, but
yeah. but then with Leto winning, that was nice too. That was a good way to start the Oscars. I thought that was really excellent. I thought Fassbender was so good, like in his role in 12 Years a Slave, and I thought he had that outside shot to maybe get it, but there was no way. You weren't going to deny Jesus his
happy Jesus.
Happy Jesus and Buddy Christ.
Buddy Christ.
Buddy Christ. So those were. I was incredibly happy with both those wins.
Kevin, what were your thoughts?
I mean, I'll echo everybody as far as Jared Leto goes. He's who I wanted to win. I thought he would win. He did win. He won every other. Didn't he win just about every other show that does as Best Supporting Actor? Like Matt was saying, I can see Fassbender being like the second choice there. Outside of that,
he lost the BAFTAs to the guy from Captain Phillips, I think.
Oh, okay, Dr. Abdi, yeah.
Gotcha. But other than that, I was very happy. I agree. I think that was a good way to begin the show. It also set the tone for predictability right off the bat. As far as Best Supporting Actress, I know I'm in the minority, but I said it on the American Hustle episode that we did. I'm very happy that Jennifer Lawrence did not win that. I'm a huge Jennifer Lawrence fan, but that to me is not her best work. So I would much rather that go to somebody else. I know I'm in the minority, but I was very happy.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Kev.
Okay, I was happy that Lupita won that. If it didn't go to her, I honestly don't even know who I would have given it to. Maybe June Squibb, because I didn't see Blue Jasmine.
June Squibb is amazing.
I loved that they showed her clip. And first of all, I don't know who's responsible for picking each person's clip, but sometimes they do a much better job than others. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes they show one and I'm like, that's not even close to the best moment from that person. But anyways, I love that they showed June Squibb's clip, and then they show her in the audience, and she's just smiling like, that's normal, right?
Happy to be here, honey. Happy to be here.
The oldest person there almost, and she's like, yeah, that's what I did. But no, I was very happy with the winners on both of those, Dan.
Yeah, speaking of clips, I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a clip of the Big Bill Engvall show from back in the day that there was an episode with Jennifer Lawrence and June Squibb that were both in it together eating at like a dinner table.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot that Jennifer Lawrence was on that show.
Yeah, I think she's hoping most people will.
Yeah.
I was never there. I was never there.
It was just humorous because it was just odd seeing that happen. It was just like
it's funny that Kevin brings that up because we were talking about who picks the clips. You're right. I like everybody's this year, except for the one clip they picked for Gravity for Sandra Bullock. I was like, they picked that clip. There's so many moments in that movie, especially after that scene, where she's actually doing great stuff, and they picked the clip where she's just screaming. I'm like, have the clip where she's talking to the guy on the radio, or Clooney, or any. I mean, that was. Yeah, that was the wrong clip to play for. I thought
that one and we'll get to it probably in a second as we talk to that category. But I thought Meryl Streep. I thought there was better clips. Not that wasn't a good clip, but she had some amazing, clip-worthy things in that film. I thought they might have chose wrong with her as well.
Yeah, and to get on that clip thing, I don't know if you guys have seen Philomena, but they showed a clip of that, and it's like the ending of it.
They spoiled the whole freaking movie. They showed the whole. I'm like, why are you spoiling Philomena's ending? I'm like, that's the whole point of the film.
Yeah, they did that, and they did that for True Grit back in the day when that came out. I'm like, why are you spoiling movies for people?
Note to self: I don't need to see Philomena anymore.
Yeah, you don't need to see it. They just showed you the whole point of the movie.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
I know Steve Coogan was pissed. He probably was like, "What are you guys doing?"
Like, what the bloody hell you wankers doing in my film?
But, yeah, I agree with what you guys were saying. I no issues there. Leto highly deserving it. I thought there was no question that he was going to win that. Like you said, maybe Fassbender. I'd be fine with Fassbender, but the rest of
Magneto. Not this time, Magneto. Not this time, Mystique.
He's got to win it some chance. Him and my question is, who's going to win first, him or Amy Adams? Because I feel like
Amy Adams probably.
They always, They always.
Hopefully.
I'm going to go with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Cumberbatch is going to win this. Benedict
Smaug in the next Lord of the Rings.
Sherlock Holmes will win it for them.
I thought Lawrence was going to win just because she has some wine scenes behind her, but I'm glad she didn't because I don't think she deserved it for that. I
don't want her to get out the way. I like her a lot. I don't want her to get hated on. So.
Yeah. But to move away from acting for a second, because I actually wanted to ask you guys a question because I think this is kind of an interesting debate regarding cinematography and the winner going to Gravity. But I know a lot of people had an issue when Life of Pi won last year because it's like so much of that is done computer animated. That's all CGI. So is that really cinematography? Is that really directing?
I saw the making of Gravity, and that was Emmanuel. They call him Chivo. I know Quran calls him Chivo. I thought the same thing when I first saw Gravity. I was like, well, this is all computers. And it is a lot of computers, but the stuff that he had to do to get like the fetus shot where she's floating in the thing, in the capsule after she gets her spacesuit off, just showing how he had to light that scene and get that right and invent a lot of the technology they use to light these scenes for the actor to work. I was convinced. I was okay. Now I can see him winning it because before you just on the surface you think, oh, he just pushed a bunch of buttons and then lights came on, and it was way more. He was way more involved in lighting it than that. I thought.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess I have not seen that, but that'd be good to see just to see how that all came about because it's hard to see
watch the making of. Watch the making. It's really in depth when it comes to how he did that stuff.
Any other thoughts on that before we move on to another award?
Nope.
All right. Let's keep the ball rolling here and go. We talked about supporting actors and actresses. Let's go to the main guys, the big stars. Go to Best Actor, Best Actress. Again, no huge surprises. Best Actor going to McConaughey, and Best Actress go to Cate Blanchett, who won the award like half a year ago. So no big surprises there at all.
She acted surprised.
Yeah, she did.
I don't believe I won. I don't believe it. It's amazing.
I would say, though...
She was playing Daniel Day-Lewis. She was Daniel Day-Lewis this year.
I would say, though, McConaughey did, to me, there was a lot of good speeches this
Great
year.
Speech by McConaughey, yeah.
And I thought McConaughey's was great. I thought the speech for the people who won for Frozen was fun. And like you mentioned, Lupita Nyong'o and the Best Adapted Screenplay as well. I thought, in McConaughey, though, I thought he was at the moment of the night. Like, the McConaissance has finally come to...
Phoenix, man. He's the Phoenix. He's not stopping, but rising to the top. Everything the man touches.
I think he should just give the speeches for everybody.
McConaughey will accept this award for me.
And I love the reaction of the crowd, too, when he talks. They're just like...
Because you can listen to McConaughey talk about anything for hours. Everything he says, this sounds so damn cool. You're like, all right, yeah, cool, all right.
And I love how he was able to make fun of himself. He even quoted himself from past movies, doing the all right line. I'm like, I thought he was going to bust out the thing from Wolf of Wall Street, but I think he was almost going to do it.
If he had that going, the whole crowd going, that would have been amazing.
That would have been amazing. His whole speech should have been that. His whole speech should have been him beating on his chest.
Any thoughts about actress or actor? We're pretty confident in these, but just know if anyone had anything they wanted to mention.
I think the Best Actress category may have been the most stacked category as far as acting goes that we've had. At least this year it was. I mean, we talk about in the supporting ones, it's like, Jared Leto and then maybe Michael Fassbender. Nobody was talking about. Nobody mentioned Jonah Hill or Bradley Cooper, etc. And same with Lupita. We talked about Jennifer Lawrence and maybe June Squibb, but nobody mentioned Sally Hawkins or Julia Roberts. But when you get to Best Actress, I mean, it's like top to bottom, and even with the one they left off, Scarlett Johansson, I'll write her in as a nominee, I guess. But Cate Blanchett, Amy Adams, Sandra Bullock, Judi Dench, Meryl Streep, and Scarlett Johansson. I think it was just a huge category as far as the talent goes, and not just the talent, but actually delivering on it in the performances. I mean, obviously, Blue Jasmine was one of the ones I hadn't seen. I did not get to that. But man, I mean, you couldn't pick a bad person out of that group as far as those performances go. And I really thought Meryl Streep was phenomenal in August Osage County, but I know she's already got a quota. She's already reached her quota for.
Sorry, your tank is full, ma'am. You have to.
John Williams is the only one that can surpass that. He doesn't have a quota.
You think that Scarlett Johansson would have got Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress? I thought she would have.
Yeah, I guess she probably would have been supporting there. But as far as the ones that were actually nominated for Best Actress, I mean, goodness gracious, you can't go wrong there.
All classy broads. All of them are classy.
Best Actor, I see they didn't give it to Tom Hanks. Oh, wait, he didn't get nominated for any of his roles, I guess.
Who's Tom Hanks?
And they didn't give it to Joaquin Phoenix. Okay, gotcha.
Check.
I don't know. I was a little... I don't know. I don't know if Christian Bale and Leonardo DiCaprio were that much better than Tom Hanks and Joaquin Phoenix. But, Matthew McConaughey. The only other person I would have considered was probably Ejiofor from 12 Years a Slave. Not saying that Bruce Dern wasn't fantastic in Nebraska, but I thought it was between McConaughey and Ejiofor. But not upset with either of those either.
All right, so moving on to the next award, Best Director. Again, nothing really surprising me. That's kind of the theme of, I think, the Oscars mostly. But Alfonso Cuarón taking away for Best Director. And I don't know about you guys, but at this point, with this winning Director and winning Best Editing, I'm like, can it upset Gravity? But do you guys feel that this is well-deserved for Cuarón, that this is kind of a long time coming for him?
I'll say my piece and get out of the way. For me, this is the only award of the night that actually upset me a little bit. I don't know. I get that he's fantastic, but for me, that film was not a great film because of the direction. That film was a great film because of everything that was going on from a technical and visual standpoint, which I don't feel. Maybe he did. Maybe he had his hands all over everything, so hats off to him. But when I'm thinking of a director, I'm sorry, I think someone like Steve McQueen or Alexander Payne in this situation, I don't know. Gravity to me is more... I didn't come out of Gravity thinking that was a fantastic film from a story standpoint or from a direction standpoint. I thought this is a fantastic film because I enjoyed watching it visually. I know you guys have seen it multiple times, so maybe you have a different take on rewatches. But this is the one I wished wouldn't have gone to Gravity.
DJ?
I love Steve McQueen. He's amazing. And I think when it comes to performances, he has a lot more plates he's got to be spinning here. He's got to work. I mean, because he has a huge cast. But I mean, Cuarón, Gravity's a technical marvel, and it took him 4 years to do it with his son, and just to hear him talk about it, I think I wanted it to go to Cuarón just for the fact that he actually had to create this technical monstrosity and still get performances out of Sandra Bullock, including that were maybe not award worthy, but still very, very good.
To me, I can't compare directing two people against directing an entire cast.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when it comes to McQueen had a crap load of performances. I mean, Cumberbatch, Ejiofor, Luongo, Magneto. I mean, a whole bunch of people. But I mean, just for the stuff that the sacrifice and the dedication that Cuarón did to make that movie. I mean, it's, for me to give him credit, it sounds like I'm sliding McQueen, and I'm not, because McQueen's amazing. But I mean, Cuarón, just to see all the stuff he did and what he had to accomplish and all the stuff that he had to invent just to make sure this movie worked, and it did, and it actually.
But to me, that's like the most important person award. That's not the best director.
Mm-hmm. You're looking more at like performances wise.
Well, I'm thinking of it. I guess it depends on how you define director. If you just you could define that as just the person responsible for the end product, the person responsible for the movie. I guess I look at it more of an actual direction of the actors, and he was directing an Academy Award winner. Two-man crew, both award winners, where you have like someone like McQueen who's bringing someone, how many people had heard of Lupita Nyong'o before that? Ejiofor was relatively unknown. You have Fassbender's up and coming, and you have some of these other people, but it's like you said about getting the most out of your people. That's how I look at the category, but I guess it's up to each person how they define best director. I
mean, as performance-wise, you're correct. McQueen is. He got amazing performances, which I thought he was. I knew he was going to get. It's just I always see director as performances is one thing they got to take care of, and they got to knock it out of the park. And they also have to be the go-between to all of these departments. I mean, all of them. And if you see that Gravity had won in all of these other departments, editing, sound mixing, frickin' cinematography, he to a man, every one of them knows that Cuarón was responsible for that and the performances. That's why I kind of lean toward Cuarón. Not saying that he's overall the way better than McQueen. McQueen is amazing, but that's why I lean toward Cuarón.
And I think one thing I think one thing you have to consider with Cuarón too is that, yeah, I agree. Like the performances that McQueen got out of his cast is pretty phenomenal. Like the overall arching amount of performance compared to that of Gravity, they're hard to compare to each other. But you also have to consider the fact that, yeah, sometimes it's even harder to have just one actor where you have to basically place them in a situation that doesn't exist, but trying to get them to a place where, like, hey, you're in space, and get them into a mindset where they can see this world and create it within them so they can react towards it. I think that's a really hard thing to do when you just have nothing but green screen, especially when you have nothing really to compare it to. I think that's a difficult task. And two, when you have no one to act against. Like, to me, that's why I think even like Spike Jonze could have been nominated here because of what he had to do with Joaquin Phoenix and getting that to work and how he was able to artificially create chemistry within, two characters. I think that's the key. And I think too, another huge aspect, not just within, if you want to go simply based upon performances, yeah, but I think there's more to a direction than just that. I think you also have to consider how Cuarón uses the camera, or in this case, the artificial camera, and his use of long takes and how it's so effective here. And yeah, that's a combination of him and his DP. But I think he is that visionary that pushes this movie forward. And to me, I think a director can be a combination of all those things. I don't think it has to be just performances, because you can also act, say, well, maybe he got really great performances because he has really great actors. So is that all him? So I think you can't also slight Cuarón's use of the camera, his dedication to his long takes and trying to make this all work, and watching that a few times, just seeing how much that camera moves, and even if it's artificially created with computer graphics or if it was really done, it really is a key factor in making that movie work. It's always moving. The cuts in that are flawless, and that to me goes obviously to editing, but directions behind that as well. So but
I think my reservation is I'm not trying to slight Cuarón at all, and I think certain directors do have their hands on everything, but for me the separation, or maybe where I'm having a little bit of more of an issue, is it's harder as just a movie going fan to know what they're doing behind the scenes. Like, I can see what they're doing as far as the directing of the actors. I can see what they're doing with camera angles to a point, but even then there's a disconnect as far as, is he really the one doing that? Like, I believe it with Cuarón, I believe it with, I'm not saying I'm a huge fan, but like someone like James Cameron, who obviously has his hands on every bit of it.
Nolan, those big guys,
certain people that, but there's a disconnect for me where how much is, if it was someone more unknown, is it that person that's doing it, or is it, like you said, the editor or the cinematographer or this person or that person? And there's just a little disconnect, because otherwise it becomes, why don't we have directors for animated films out there? I'm saying there's it's only a step away. If we're only going to have one person and we're basically doing it because of the technical merit, then someone who directs a fully animated or stop motion or something like that should be considered, because they're doing all that.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a hard question of knowing who's responsible for what. Is this scene working because of the director, the actor, or the editor? Combination of both. So it's really the producer, who's really one behind the scenes. And I mean, I think that's a question that unfortunately you can't really answer because you're not there. But I think part of it is just, I don't know. To me, it's just you gotta look at their past track.
I'm not saying he's not deserving. I'm just,
I think it's a legitimate. It's a legitimate argument saying, like, well, who's like I mentioned with cinematography, it's like, who's really the one behind this? Is it the person we're awarding, or is it someone else? But Matt, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this before what your thoughts were on the best director.
I mean, I'm looking at it from like a purely like a black and white perspective. I mean, the director, you think of the director as the person who is in charge of everything. So if that film is a great film, you automatically thank the director for it. It's like the director created this entire world. He got all the performances out of his actors. He's the main guy. So with him directing Gravity and directing it in a certain way and creating this entire immersive world that we probably haven't seen since maybe like 2001: A Space Odyssey or something, like creating a modern day 2001: Space Odyssey, it was amazing to see how much like time and effort and like it was almost like he created a form of performance art in a way where, yeah, you have Sandra Bullock and George Clooney in front of a green screen, and he has to make these two actors buy into a vision of like, okay, you're in space, you're connected to this camera, the camera's going to move around, you have to react like you are moving around in space and convey these emotions and convey these performances, and being able to do something like that. Nobody's been able to do something like that. I mean, outside of like an animated film or something like that. But of course, everything's animated, so you can control the animations of people. You still have a real face. You still have George Clooney's face, as well as Sandra Bullock's face, exuding emotion. And only really a great director, I say, can do something that incredible. As far as a film, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, next when we talk about the Best Picture, in no way did I think Gravity was the best picture of the year. I think it was excellent. It was something I had never seen before. But technically, it was like, and also Cuarón won for Best Editing too. So, of course, he's in the trenches editing this film down to what he wants it to be. So he still has his directing fingers in everything at that point. So directing-wise, I mean, like you say, McQueen, of course, McQueen has to direct actors, and there's no CG involved. And it's like you have to get these performances out of everybody. And it's not only your actors. You have to make sure your production designer is on point. You have to make sure the music cues are on track with your conductor and things like that too. So I'm sure the director has a lot to do with that as well. But I guess in Cuarón, it was his award to lose, and I think they picked it basically for the technical achievement he was able to get with Gravity. Maybe not necessarily performance-wise, but creating something that nobody had really been able to see before.
Yeah, and I mean, I do think there's a good argument there. And if McQueen were to win this award, I think I would be completely okay with it. I think
absolutely.
He's gonna win. He's gonna win soon.
It might not have been safe though, because I think he would have actually. I think he actually knocked out 3 people when he did win an award.
So I thought he almost punches. Was that his wife? He almost punched in the face.
I don't know. We got to be careful with how many people. What things we put in his hand. Apparently, when he's excited.
Oh my goodness! I jumped in my seat. I was like, oh my goodness! He just punched that lady.
But anything else before we move on to the granddaddy of them all?
I think that's it.
All right. So, of course, the question then becomes, who wins Best Picture? And it is, of course, 12 Years a Slave. I was a little, like, when I went into this, I'm okay, it's 12 Years a Slave, no doubt. But when Gravity started picking up a little bit of everything, I'm like, especially when it went editing, that was my, like, a little bit of hesitation, because editing and Best Picture tend to go hand to hand. Director, I think, in the past years has changed, because last year, John Woo won for Life of Pi. Not Woo, but
John Woo's Life of Pi would be amazing. You got doves flying around it is amazing.
a lot more two-handed guns. Yes. Yes. Anyways, it's a late night here. But so that to me was a little bit surprising. So I guess that's the question then becomes: how do you guys feel about 10 years from now? Are we going to look back and say 12 Years a Slave is the movie of 2013? I guess, DJ, we can start with you.
This is the only kind of thing me and Matt disagree. I mean, when somebody asked me what's the best picture that came out this year, I always say, what's my best film experience? And it's kind of slanted because 12 Years a Slave is very not depressing. Well, it is depressing, but like more morbid, dramatic. My best film experience in a theater is Gravity. And I knew it wasn't going to win because the subject matter is it's more of a ride than a film. So I knew 12 Years a Slave was going to to win. But if anybody asked me to a man, if 10 years from now, what's going to be the movie I remember, it's going to be Gravity. They can play Gravity at an IMAX theater every year and it'll get money because it's a ride. It's like going to Universal Studios. If you watch it on IMAX, it's literally a ride. And it just happens to have the benefit of great direction, very, very, very strong acting, good subtext. And this movie gets criticized because they say there's no subtext, there's no plot. And if you look at all the stuff that Cuarón was doing with Rebirth and Faith and stuff like that, there's way more stuff going on in that movie than that's on the surface.
Right.
And that's the movie I'm going to remember.
Matt, how about yourself?
It's an interesting point you just brought up, Dan, about the whole Ang Lee winning for Life of Pi. It kind of reminds me of what happened this year with Cuarón winning, because Life of Pi itself was pretty like a technical marvel when you think about it also. And he won last year, and of course Argo wins Best Picture. So I don't know if this is becoming more of a trend where they're going in a way where, okay, directing is going to be completely different from like a film. Like a film going experience will be different than what somebody does technically on the screen. Like maybe when the next Avatar comes out, we'll see another example of that at some point with Cameron winning for the new Avatar or something.
No, don't say that.
Hopefully not, but we'll see. But yes, I mean, 12 Years a Slave, it's not, of course, it's not the best subject matter, but it was the story it told was beautiful, it was tragic, it was heartbreaking, it was hopeful. It was a very emotional experience. I mean, of course, I didn't live in those times, and I can't identify with a lot of things. Well, you can identify with some of the characters, but it was just like a beautiful story, even though it was so disgusting and ugly at the same time. Gravity, of course, it's like DJ was saying, you can play that in IMAX all the time. You can play it at the museum and say, okay, kids, field trip, we're going to go see Gravity because this is kind of what space is like, and it's in 3D and it's really cool looking. So, of course, people will talk about Gravity in the future, but I still think 12 Years a Slave was the correct choice, in my opinion, about best actual film and exuding emotion and grabbing you and not letting it go until the end of the film.
All right. And Kevin, how about yourself?
What a stacked year.
That's it.
What a stacked year. I mean, you look back at a couple of recent years and they can't put the resume that 2013 can. To me, it was two things. If you're asking me which one was my personal favorite movie of the year, then it would be Her. Just on a lot of different levels, I just absolutely loved that film. But if you're asking me which one am I going to look back at 10 years from now and say that definitively was the best film of the year, to me it's 12 Years a Slave. I just think that was a masterpiece. It was the most emotional reaction I had during the film in the entire year, top to bottom. Cast-wise, the acting performances from the minor parts to the major parts were phenomenal. I just think 12 Years a Slave was... I'm so happy that it won, because for me, this is the first time in a good number of years where the best film of the year actually won Best Picture. I won't talk about Argo. But anyway.
That's Batman you're messing with. Easy.
but I just think, 12 Years a Slave is the best film. I wouldn't have been upset, though, on a lot of these. If it doesn't go to 12 Years a Slave, I did not obviously expect it to go to Her. I knew that wasn't going to win. If they had to go another direction, I was kind of hoping they would have either gone to something like Dallas Buyers Club or Nebraska. I was very happy that American Hustle and Wolf of Wall Street did not win this. Not saying anything bad about the films. I enjoyed both films, but I'm very glad they did not win. To me, those winning, I don't know, that would have been...
spectacle.
Yeah.
Crazy. Imagine, close your eyes and imagine Wolf of Wall Street winning tonight. Can you imagine what would have happened on that stage?
What would
been silence across the entire place. Everyone would have been like, excuse me? Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is, like, 12 Years a Slave, when you ask someone, like, for example, to go back to something like the Holocaust, you say, what is the Holocaust movie? People often answer with Schindler's List. And I think if you're going to have what film defines the slavery of the United States, I think it's going to be 12 Years a Slave for quite a long time. And I do think people go back and they will say, 12 Years a Slave is that achievement. But I think Gravity is going to be there too, as that spectacle, as an example of, hey, you can make like a blockbuster thrilling ride that still is, like DJ mentioned, has subtext in it. It actually is more than just explosions and a technical achievement. But I do agree that 12 Years a Slave was the one that probably should have won. I think it overall, as a complete film, a complete cinematic experience, it was the best. My favorite film of the year was Her, though I don't know how well that translates to the general audience per se. I saw that in the theater with a group of people yesterday because I went to the second day of the AMC Best Picture Showcase, and let's just say after that movie was over, I think I was the only person that liked that movie, and all I could hear was people complaining about it around me, and I was getting very, very agitated with the stupidity around me.
You killed 3 people.
I literally had to leave. I'm like, I need to go because it's like people are. Yeah, I get why people won't like that movie, but I'm like, it was just stupid, dumb people that I'm like.
You wouldn't get a good like, oh, why is it stupid? Oh, it's stupid. Thank you for your contribution to my argument.
I don't like it. That's why.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I didn't get it. It's the same people that I shared the theater with a year ago when they walked out of Les Mis in the first 10 minutes when they apparently just discovered that they were going to be singing the entire film.
I think I was one.
Like, are you kidding me? You didn't expect this? Like, oh, I got to go see that movie because someone said it was good. Anyway.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
I do think 12 Years a Slave was the right choice. I wouldn't be upset if a lot of those movies won, if Gravity won, if Her won, that would have been great, if Nebraska won. I would be a little bit perturbed if American Hustle won, or Philomena, which I think is a good movie, but it's not, I don't think anything.
It's not the movie of the year.
No, it's not defining. It's simple and it has stuff behind it. I love Steve Coogan in it, but it's not really something that I feel like, oh, that's a movie that you're going to look at and be like, oh, that movie represents 2013.
No,
it's nomination worthy.
Philomena filled the quota of them being required to at least have one nominee that the majority of the public has not heard of or has not seen. I know that used to be the running thing where you had to have as many movies possible that nobody's heard of. So that was just a remnants of the old guard.
It was like Secrets and Lies back in like 96 or 97 or something like that. It's like
what was that? What movie?
Secrets and Lies.
So for
no, I know what you're talking about.
I wanted to ask kind of 2 questions in general, not trying to cut in and go out of order or anything, but first I wanted to ask for DJ and Matt and Dan your reaction to, I guess I'm going to call them the fringe films, but kind of the ones that aren't in the running for like the best picture, that type of thing, but those films that did receive nominations, and maybe what was the most surprising. So I mean, you had stuff like Star Trek and Lone Ranger getting snuck in there for best visual effects. You had Jackass and Lone Ranger again for best makeup. You had a bunch of these Prisoners snuck in a nomination.
Good for Deacons.
Inside Llewyn Davis did get snuck in for one. The Hobbit, All Is Lost. Any reactions to those films that just kind of got that one nomination in? Book Thief, Saving Mr. Banks, that weren't necessarily in the best picture discussion, but do you think their nominations were deserving, or what was the most surprising out of all those?
I think I speak for the human race when I say Lone Ranger being nominated for anything other than a Razzie Award is the
fact that they can put Oscar-nominated film as on
their DVD. Their DVD, it's injustice to society. I mean, anyway, I'm going to move on from Lone Ranger because I don't want to curse. So, I really, really, really liked All Is Lost, and I agree with Robert Redford. They did not promote that movie enough. That movie was very, very. The term I use is slept on. Nobody really saw it or knew about it. Her to me is the master. Her to me is one of those films that you're like, this movie is amazing, and nobody's. It just came out in a really wrong time. Then The Master come out
The Master came out during the summer. Where I mean, Her came out near the end of the year. It came out like in October. I mean, October started getting limited, and then more wide in like December.
Yeah, because it didn't hit theaters around here until December, and I was just
yeah. It was super, super limited. But I mean, once again, it's a movie that kind of got lost in a year of really, really good film. So,
you also had Lone Survivor sneaking in 2 nominees, even though
which is a good movie. I don't think it's worthy enough for it to get. I think the more interesting part of the Lone Survivor is the part they kind of skip past, which is the stuff that happens after the climactic battle. That's the stuff
I like that it was out for a week in 2013. But anyway.
Yeah. It's out. Bye.
It's qualifies.
But no, Bad Grandpa being nominated is essentially South Park being nominated. So that's
For best song, yeah.
I chuckle when I see that, but when I see Lone Ranger, I get nauseous. So I don't know how Matt feels.
Well, I mean, also, Iron Man 3 was also nominated, wasn't it, for visual effects as well? So it snuck in. And The Hobbit. So you get these like fringy movies that are like, no, not even fringy. These are like blockbuster films, but of course they're only nominated for what they're nominated for, visual effects, of course. So
that's what science fiction films get nominated for.
Exactly.
Outside of Gravity.
Yeah, outside of Gravity. But I mean, like I'd like Roger Deakins getting nominated again and not winning again. Will he win ever? DJ, you were saying maybe like a career achievement award or something like that.
Man's probably the greatest cinematographer work. Yes.
I thought it'd be kind of like fitting if Inside Llewyn Davis won cinematography, and like the fact that he always does the Coen Brothers movies, and then that wins the year he doesn't do it.
Deakins kills everyone on the stage.
Yeah.
No.
I should have been in here.
Dan, any thoughts on some of those fringe nomination movies?
I was surprised, maybe not surprised, but the fact I'm very happy that the Grand Master got a nod for
they got a few
for
cinematography
and costume. It's a beautiful movie. I mean, you could even nominate that for special effects, really. But I think it was well deserving of the nod for cinematography. So that to me was one of the little happier fringe films I was glad got some sort of recognition.
And,
I mean, that had Scorsese's kind of blessing in that, because wasn't he an executive producer or presented by Martin Scorsese or something along those lines? So I think it had some type of like, hey, Scorsese, let's nominate it for a few things.
Yeah, and it had the wine scenes behind it too. And I'm really, I'm hoping one day I can finally watch the actual like original cut version of that, but unfortunately, it has not been released in the U.S. yet. So, but I think it's still a good movie, even if it's not the original cut.
My last question was, out of the actual films that were in the running for Best Picture, either they were talked about being nominated or they actually got the nomination. For you guys, was there anyone that did not get enough love when it came to actual winners, or any that got too much love out of those, the heavy hitters as far as the ones that were nominated or the ones that were in discussion? Which ones did not get as much love as they deserved, and which ones got too much?
Her did not get enough love. We're talking about movies that were nominated but didn't.
Yeah, well, just out of the Best Picture, I mean, you had Dallas Buyers Club coming away with, both of the male acting categories. You had Gravity coming away with every other, literally every other category that was announced. You have 12 Years a Slave getting an actor nominee, getting the Best Picture. So, I mean, those got some recognition. Which ones did not? Were you surprised at any of them that just didn't get hardly a single win?
Wall Street got blanked. Everything. Yeah. Captain Phillips got
American Hustle got blanked.
American Hustle got blanked. I agree with everybody here tonight. I think we are on consensus that Her is a great film, and I just wish it came out like last year or the year before, the next, because it's such a good film that I guess I have to like convince people who haven't seen it to watch. I'm like, that's the one where he talks to his phone. I don't want to watch that movie. It's such a good movie, and I was hoping that awards would get it more popular, and because it didn't get a lot of love, kind of disappointed me. But Captain Phillips is another movie that, again, the last 10 minutes of that movie, we were talking about crying in the theater. Matt was talking about 12 Years a Slave. I've never had that kind of emotion for just a scene where a guy is essentially having a panic attack I've ever had in my life. It's amazing. So
I don't know. I'd have to go back and do the research. But this, I mean, I know we haven't had 10 nominees for a long time, only in recent history. But to have 6 out of the 9 get blanked nothing. That's gotta be a first. That seems weird.
It was
nothing.
The awards were very heavy with specific films. I mean, there were pretty much four films that got the big recognition for the evening, which doesn't happen all that often. But hey, what does that really say about the nominees? Maybe.
No, I think they should have spread some of these out. I believe, anyway.
I think some of the sound editing and mixing could have been spread out. Like, I think Inside Llewyn Davis was deserving of mixing because trying to do live performances and that. And
yeah, really, it's a movie about music.
Exactly.
No, not
Maybe
good enough. Not good enough. Get out of here.
It's like they had to mix the vacuum of space to not sound like anything.
Guitar, get out of here. That's crap.
Yeah, we don't need music.
I think when it comes to mixing and editing, I think when the actual General Academy are voting on those, they're like, I'm just going to go for the loudest film and vote it for both. So, but I think you can even argue a movie for editing purposes, like Captain Phillips. I think was
That's
huge.
What I thought.
In editing, I mean that.
Yeah.
Like I think, especially that last 10, 15 minutes of that scene, like heading such a huge portion of that. So I think it was deserving of that. I'm not saying Gravity didn't deserve it. I just think you could have. It was such a strong year for movies. I think it would have been right to kind of say, hey, I think we need to recognize all these films and not just leave them out in the cold. So.
Yeah, but then they go, oh, it's just an honor to be nominated. It's like, no, bullshit. Give me the award.
Yeah. But I mean, it's tough. I'd assumed that Gravity was going to kind of sweep up the technical stuff, but it's just it's a weird year. I thought there would be a little bit more diversity, but I was happy that that 12 Years a Slave at least got one acting award because I think it deserved at
least,
it. So.
Yeah.
I think the awards would have set much worse with me if Gravity somehow would have came away with the Best Picture. I'm not saying that it doesn't have its argument for it, but just given the fact that it got so many awards, I think if it also would have got Best Picture, that I would have had a different attitude coming out of the award.
I think I would have had the same attitude as you. I mean, in no way did I think it was the best picture of the year, not even by a long shot. Great
best
film
experience, but probably not the best picture.
Exactly. I mean, there's a difference between being the best film experience and being the best film. So that's my argument to the whole thing.
All right. Anything else before we kind of bring this episode to a close?
No more pizza jokes.
Yeah, please, no more.
Great, put the cap on a great year of films. Like I said, I think these 9 films can stack up against just about any other Best Picture class that we've seen in recent times.
Yeah, agreed. And
totally agreed.
So let us know what you think. Before we end the show, we just want to take a look at what's coming out now that the Academy Awards out and 12 Years a Slave has won Best Picture. Guess what? You can buy it on Tuesday. So
yay!
That's coming out on Blu-ray and DVD, and not as well as the Grandmaster, like we talked about. And of course, you know what? We talked about snubs, but we did not talk about Oldboy not getting anything.
Oh no!
That's coming out, and also The Hunger Games: Catching Fire is hitting Blu-ray and DVD. So actually, kind of a busy week when it comes to Blu-rays this week. And then coming in the theater, we have the sequel to 300 Rise of the Empire. Yay!
About 5 years too late.
Yay! Sin City's coming out too. Let's keep making movies 5 years later than they're supposed to be coming out.
Well, Frank Miller takes a while for him to get the sign off on it.
Because he's crazy, and apparently he's married to Kate Blanchett. Did Kate Blanchett's husband look like Frank Miller to you? Because he looked like Frank Miller to me.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought you meant literally. I'm like, really?
Like, that would be
What did he do to her?
That explains her character in Blue Jasmine so much more.
Completely. That's exactly what happened. You have a conversation with Frank Miller. You freak out like Kate Blanchett does.
But also coming out in theater in very limited release is The Grand Budapest Hotel, which I am looking forward to. Good old Wes Anderson. And Mr. Peabody and Sherman is coming out on Blu-ray and DVD. Any of those movies interest you guys at all?
I'm laughing because I thought it came out in the theater. It's coming on DVD, Mr. Peabody?
No, it is. I'm sorry.
It's a theater.
Coming out.
I was release. Fast.
Maybe. Who knows?
Holy crap. That was out Monday. Now it's on DVD. I want to see Grand Budapest Hotel. Wes Anderson.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Great.
All right.
There's going to start being a lot of stuff to see now, so we're kind of past the dead phase.
Yeah, the first 2 months have been pretty brutal.
Yeah. Only a month away from Captain America, so we got that.
Yeah.
And speaking of Captain America, we end each show with a credit conversation, and last week we asked you all about the infamous trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy. If you're excited and more excited, less excited, and based upon the comments we got, people are rather excited. That kind of took control of our responses last week, and seems like everyone's really looking forward to it, even those that were a little bit hesitant. So, DJ and Matt, what were your thoughts on the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer?
You think I'm excited? Feel these nipples. I'm really excited. I'm super excited, man. I mean, I've watched that trailer, north of 13 times. It's pretty damn good. I think it's going to be awesome. Chris Pratt, if it's not the year of McConaughey, it's going to be the year of Chris Pratt, I believe. So, yeah, looks awesome. Cannot wait.
Yeah, you're talking about nipples. Yeah, my nipples got hard to that.
Fully erect.
It was fully erect. No, but just seeing that they're doing something like this, Disney's taking a chance to do something this out there is amazing. And James Gunn, who I love James Gunn, I adore him. I've loved him since his days at Trauma and everything like that too. So just to see this guy finally getting a break and getting a budget to make a film that he wants to do with hopefully minimal Disney influence, I'm hoping.
Which I've heard little influence from them.
Which is fantastic. So it just looks like a lot of fun. That's going to be my Pacific Rim of 2014. So it's going to be probably the most fun I'll have in the theater the entire year.
Awesome.
Upa Chaka.
And I guess our question for next week, or for this week's episode, I should say, is, it is the Oscars. So what did you think of the Oscars? What were you think of the show, the awards, anything won that you didn't think deserving? Or do you not at all care about the Oscars? I know there's a lot of people who could care less, but curious to hear what you all think out there. And there's tons of ways you can contact with us. You can comment on the Facebook page by searching Geekcast Radio. We're at Twitter at Geekcast Radio, #MWIRE, or on the episode post at geekcastradio.com. DJ and Matt, before you go, where can people check out your stuff?
Matt, you want to do the honors? This is kind of your deal.
As I always do on the show. I'll do it on the show, too. Yes, Simplistic Reviews. You can find us. Our main site is www.simplisticreviews.blogspot.com. We're on Twitter, the @SRblogspot. So Twitter and then Facebook. You go to facebook.com/Simplistic Reviews. Those are our three main ways to find us on Twitter, our website, and Facebook. Once again, simplisticreviews.blogspot.com.
And I'm on Twitter at Movie Revolt. Kev, how can people get in touch with you?
I'm at Optimus Solo, and I just want to say, for those that don't necessarily want to, maybe for those that don't like the Oscars or didn't watch it, that still want a way to contribute, maybe you can give us your favorite Harold Ramis film as well in the comment section. So
sounds like a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Groundhog Day.
Cannot go wrong. There's so many choices, unless you say year one and then you're wrong.
You're wrong.
And maybe analyze that, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'd like to thank you all for taking us in. Thank you, Matt and DJ, for stopping in and helping us with this episode. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having us. Pleasure is all ours. Pleasure is on this side of the computer.
Even though you have the restraining order.
Yes. We're going to talk about that later.
Anyways, that will do it for us for this week. And remember, for all things movies, keep tuned to MWIRE Weekly. We'll see you next week.